Hari Om. Let us chant the first 10 verses of chapter 10. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhuya Eva Mahabaho Shrinu Me Paramam Vachaha Yatteham Priyamanaya Vakshyami Hitakamyaya Name Vidhu Suraganaha Prabhavam cha mahashayah ahamadeti devanam maharshinam cha sarvashah yo mamajamanadim cha veti lokamaheshwaram asammudhasamadhyeshu sarvapapai pramuchyate buddhirjnanam asammohah क्षमा सत्यम दमः शमः सुखम दुःखम भवो भावः भयं च भयमेव च अहिंसा समता तुष्टिः तपोदानं यशो यशः भवन्ति भावा भूतानां मध्येव पृथग्विधाः महर्षयः सप्तपूर्वे चत्वारो मनवस्तथा मद्भावा मानसा जाताः येषां लोक इमाः प्रजाः एतां विभूतिं योगं च मम यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः सो विकम्पेन योगेन युज्यते नात्र संशयः अहं सर्वस्य प्रभवः मत्तः सर्वं प्रवर्तते इति मत्वा भजन्ते मां बुधा भावसमन्विताः मच्चित्ता मद्गतप्राणाः बोधयन्तः परस्परं कथयन्तश्च मां नित्यं तुष्यन्ति च रमन्ति च तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते।
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We are to begin with chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti Yoga is the yoga of supreme manifestation, the glories of God. Vibhuti means glories. If you have been following the thought flow, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, chapter 1, Arjuna got into depression. He came with the clarity of knowing what to do, having gotten into the battlefield, he got into depression and he said, I cannot fight this battle. He knew this is what he ought to do, but the mind took over and he said, I will not do what I ought to do. I will not do what I ought to do. I will do that which I like to do. What is it that I like to do? I like to run away from the battlefield. And 18 chapters, he is very stubborn, trying to convince Krishna to agree with him. First thing that you have to understand is this. If ignorance is stubborn, you should understand wisdom is more stubborn. Isn't it? If ignorance itself can be so stubborn, not yielding, wisdom is supremely stubborn. And the only difference is what? Ignorance at some point of time will get confused and it has to yield. Wisdom will not yield, and it also knows how to melt the ignorance. So what Krishna did, he tried various methods. So first what he did in chapter 2, he gave the highest knowledge. He gave the highest knowledge of Sankhya Yoga. 11 to 30, he gave Sankhya Yoga. See, we don't know which Janma we started all this chapter 2 and all. No? That's why we are trying to recollect everything. Each and every chapter takes 2 years to finish. So by the time we finish 18 chapters, 50 years would have gone for us, I think. So every chapter we try to recap so we get the sequence correct. So he gave the Sankhya Yoga, the highest knowledge, and also he gave Karma Yoga. So what he did in chapter 2, he gave a magnificent presentation of the entire sequence of knowledge. And when he gave the sequence, he gave it in the classic Vedantic style. What is the classic Vedantic style? Come from PhD to kindergarten. You don't go from kindergarten to PhD. The classic worldly style is go from kindergarten to PhD. The Vedic Vedantic style is exactly the opposite. Start from the PhD. If you can't relate to it, dilute. If you can't relate to it, dilute. If you can't relate to it, dilute. Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Itihasa, this is the style. This is the sequence of the books itself. So in chapter 2, what he started in verse number 11, Ashochanam, Ashochastvam, Prajna, Vadamsa, Bhashase, and all that. In 53, he concluded by saying, this person has attained Samadhi. This person will attain self-realization. So from a person who is into depression to taking that person to moksha. That is the entire sequence from 11 to 53. Since he used 2-3 words, Arjuna asked, simply he didn't mean to ask and all, but maybe impulsively he asked, and thank God he impulsively asked, Sthita Prajna Stadochete. So he went again into Sthita Prajna for another 20 verses. After all this Sthita Prajna discussion and everything, Arjuna suddenly woke up and said, what am I asking you and what are you advising me? I am saying I want to run away from the battlefield, and you are saying attain moksha, do karma yoga and attain moksha. What am I asking and what are you talking? There is no connection between. Now you are giving another answer. So he wanted to bring back Krishna to the discussion. What is that? He said, I told you knowledge is important in chapter 1, and we will sit and pursue knowledge. You also agreed knowledge is the highest pursuit. I said I will gain knowledge. Let us sit and pursue knowledge. You said you also agreed with this. Now when I am saying let us sit and pursue knowledge, why are you pushing me into this action? This is the highest. But Arjuna, you do this. This is the best thing. Having said this is the best thing, why are you asking me to compromise to go to something that is inferior? Having accepted knowledge is superior and action is inferior, why are you pushing me into action that is inferior by nature? Tadekam vadanischitya yena shreyoham apnuyam. Tell me in one word. Don't give me this karma yoga, jnana yoga, sequence, stories and all. Don't tell me. Just tell me what I should do. Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru, they say, no? That's the name for Krishna. Is a Jagat Guru. Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. Jagat Guru means 0 to 100, that person knows how the mind will function. That is the Jagat Guru. Jagat Guru doesn't mean Guru of 8 billion people or 9 billion people. That is not Jagat Guru. It means that also, but what it actually means is the entire Jagat he knows. Is the master of the Guru. Is the knower of the Jagat. Is the Guru means master, is the knower of the Jagat. And what is the Jagat? Internal and external. The external world is the world of objects and beings. The internal world is the mind. So Jagat Guru means one who knows the external thoroughly and also one who knows the internal thoroughly. He is a Jagat Guru. And Krishna being the Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru, he knew what Arjuna was asking. What is Arjuna saying? When somebody comes and asks you, what should I do? At least this you should know by now. Whatsoever you say, the person is going to go back and do exactly the opposite. This is how it works. Anybody comes for advice, don't start giving advice, because they are going to go back and do exactly what they want to do only. All that they want is what? Somebody to agree with them. Somebody, and if the wise person agrees, it makes it all the more convincing to do, isn't it? And the problem with the wise person is what? The problem with the wise person is whatsoever you do, he's going to say it's wrong. Whatsoever you say, he's saying it's wrong. So even in the classroom also, we keep asking questions, and any answer that is given, that answer is set wrong. No. That's it. So when Arjuna said, tell me in one word what I should do. Krishna said, do karma yoga. Tell me in one word what I should do karma yoga. Then he went on to detailed elaboration, chapter 3 to chapter 6. The theme of chapter 3 to chapter 6 spoke about the Tvam, the you, the self. Because action is always related to the self, the individual, not the supreme self, Brahman. Action is always related to the self, the individual, the karta, the doer. Since it is about the karta, the individual, he went into elaborate details about the action. The importance of action, the intellectual appeal, the emotional appeal, the blueprint. And then he went on to the magnificent exposition of the enemy. Vairinam, Nitya Vairinam, Shatru, Paripantinam. All this is what? Raga Dvesha, likes and dislikes. When you understand what is Karma Yoga and etc., chapter 4, he went on to elaborate Jnana Karma Sannyasa. Jnana Karma Sannyasa it is not just the action, it is not just the skillful knowledge behind the action, it is the true knowledge behind the action. One is the skill knowledge. One is, when I'm talking to you, one aspect of it is a skill. What is the skill? I should know a few verses. I should have by-hearted a few verses. I should know how to go backwards and forwards. And I should know how to develop a thought flow and remember what I want to think and then make you meander all over the place and come back, isn't it? Now, when I am meandering, if I get lost in my meandering, what will happen? So all this is the skill part of the action. Distinct and different from that is the jnanam. What is that jnanam? Yajna karma. The knowledge of yajna. Chapter 4. And then 12 yajnas. Krishna will be regretting why he gave the 12 yajnas if he is listening to our group discussions. Oh my God, he is regretting now why he even gave the 12 yajna chapter. Having said all this, chapter 5, Karma Sannyasa. If Jnanam is backing Karma Yoga, what is the consequence? Chapter 5, Karma Sannyasa. Another beautiful sequence, Yogi, Sannyasi, Jnani, chapter 5. Because again in chapter 5, he asks the same question. What is the same question? Tell me what I should do. Again he started. Yogi, Sannyasi, Jnani, Arjuna, in my opinion, Karma Yoga is the best. Tell me what I should do. Krishna gives answer. In my opinion, Karma Yoga is the best. Chapter 5, verse number 4. I'm just recollecting. Immediately in chapter, next verse number 5. But sannyasis go there faster. It means what? What will take 100 years for you, this fellow will reach it in 5 years. Now, if you keep comparing like this, what that person will be tempted to? Because they always want to take the faster route, isn't it? The path of least resistance. Whichever takes you faster is what you always want. Who wants to go through the circular route? So in chapter 5, he said, Yogi, Sannyasi. Ultimately, he reconciled both and said, both leads you to the same goal, Arjuna. They are not different path. They are different stages in the same path. Beautiful explanation. So what happens to that? If you do Karma Yoga with knowledge, you become a sannyasi. That sannyasi is qualified for meditation. Chapter 6. Shranvan, Jignan, Ashnan, Shwapan, Shwasan. Oh, so many things he spoke in chapter 6. What all the 25 factors he said, isn't it? In chapter 6 about meditation, and he concluded, one set is over. Up to chapter 6, one set is over. And in that entire 3 to 6, the focus was on self-effort. It's through effort you do it, Arjuna. It's through effort. Action implies effort. So he was insisting on self-effort. Uddared atmanatmanam atmanam avadhar. All that he said. From chapter 7, he took a different route. What is the route that he took in chapter 7? From chapter 7, he started describing Tat. That was explained from chapter 7 to chapter 12. When we started chapter 7, we did an elaborate introduction to that. If you remember, what is that? Tat. Moving from Tvam to that. That here refers to God, Brahman. So in chapter 7, he called it as Prakriti and Purusha. In chapter 9, again, he gave the same name. Same comment. So chapter 7 and chapter 9 is almost a repetition. Also, we saw in chapter 8, suddenly, because Arjuna had a doubt. Even though the theme of Vedanta, the theme of Krishna is Jivan Mukti, liberation now, Arjuna had a doubt in chapter 8. What is the doubt he had? Halfway through, if I die, what will happen? Because what you are talking as Karma Yoga, etc. and all doesn't seem like a practical thing at all in this world. Because those who are doing it seems to suffer a lot. Don't know. All this doesn't seem to work at all. Velikavada discussion you are giving me, and I'm willing to pursue that. And it looks like a long journey. Halfway through, if I die, what will happen? Prayana kale. Halfway through, if I die, what will happen? So the whole of chapter 8, he said, do not worry. Nothing will happen to you. Why? Because I am taking care. And then again in chapter 9, he came back to that Prakriti and Purusha discussion. What is the theme of God? First is the nature of God. Second is what is the relationship that God has and what is the relationship of God to the world? That is the discussion. Chapter 10 and chapter 11 is taking it to the height of poetic expression. Chapter 10 and chapter 11. And when we say poetic expression, please don't understand it as imagination. Huh? Poetic expression means he knew how to put it in words. What the reality is, as in Vibhuti Yoga, he knew how to put it in the words. So, what is God? And what is the relation between God and the world? We did that in chapter 7 and we did that in chapter 9 again. We took up that Nimitta Karana, Upadhana Karana, etc. The cause and the effect. For every action, there are three things. For every action, there are three things. For pot, three factors go into it. The clay, the wheel, the potter. For the pot to come into existence, for every action has three causes. Nimitta Karana, Upadana Karana, Sahakarika. There are so many technical terms for all that. Don't worry, because we're not so used to that vocabulary. We need not worry about those technical words. But what it means is there are three things. Of the Karana, one is always there. The other two comes and go. Okay. The first is for the pot. Now, world is the pot. For the pot to come into existence, what is needed? Clay. So it is clay that get converted into pot. Now, wherever there is clay, it doesn't get converted into pot by itself. So you need a potter. Now, a potter has the intelligence of how to convert it into a pot. A potter has the intelligence of how to convert the clay into pot. And then the third thing is needed. What is the third thing? The instrument. So the instrumental costs, the intelligent costs, and the material costs. Material cost for the pot is clay. The intelligent cost is potter. The instrumental cost is the wheel, the sunlight, all that. And then we went on to deeper analysis of the three by saying, what is the, how this, with this understanding, now connect what is the relationship of God to the world. A pot gets freedom from the potter and the instrument. A pot gets freedom from the potter, because having made the pot, he will sell it away. So the pot gets freedom from the potter. The pot also gets freedom from the instrument, because once the pot is made, the wheel, the post, the wheel, that's all that becomes useless. But the pot can never tell the clay, why are you with me all the time? Give me a break. The pot cannot tell the clay, give me a break. Why? Because if clay is gone, there's no pot. So world is the pot. Here comes a real twist, and that's Vedanta. What is the twist here? The God, there is the intelligent cause as God sitting and creating. Vedanta comes and says, please understand, even though it looks like there are three causes, all three are me only. That's why in chapter 7, again in chapter 9, he confused us so much, isn't it? I created the world. I have nothing to do. I created it. And then second, he went on to say, I don't remember. I'm just trying to recollect. I created the world. World is in me. I am in the world. Correct. Remember that we went into a spin when we were doing those verses. The world is in me. I am in the world. Next verse. World is not in me. I am not in the world. Again, you feel like asking him. Say again, obviously, if you are hearing him properly, we will ask him, isn't it? We'll ask him, what are you saying? You're saying one thing 1 minute before. At least contradict next chapter. No. At least contradict 2 chapters later, you contradict, I can forget. But then if you contradict in the next verse itself, unless I am deaf, I will not react, isn't it? So he said, what are you saying? For which he said, yeah, at one level, it is a connection between the clay and the pot. At another level, it is Maya that created. I have nothing to do with it. So what is the cause for creation? At one level, he says, I am the cause for creation. As long as you don't ask any questions, he will maintain this answer. The moment you start asking questions about it, he says, he immediately withdraws and says, wait, I am not the creator. Maya is the creator. Prakriti creates it. So that is the swabhava of Prakriti. The swabhava of Prakriti goes on creating it. So it means now there are 2 things. One is God and another is Prakriti. Prakriti is also me. So what does it mean? It is me appearing like this. It is me. Me means God. It is me appearing like this. Technically, he was explaining in chapter that's what we studied till now. I'm not going into the details because we have studied it already. So having given the technical explanation in chapter 7 and chapter 9, same explanation in 10 and 11, he is giving it into taking up each and every part of the world, and he's saying, it is me, it is me, it is me. So here he is saying how everything is me. In chapter 11, he is going to say each and every component part he is going to take and say, this is me, this is me, this is me, in chapter 10. In chapter 11, he assembles everything together into one unit. That is Vishwarupa. There are 365 component parts in a car. So one way is break up the car into 365 component parts and say, this is car, this is car, this is car, this is car. The nut is the car, the bolt is the car, the spring is the car, the tire is the car, the glass is the car, the metal is the car. So he broke up the car into component parts in chapter 10. In chapter 11, he is going to assemble everything together into one and say, this is the car. Chapter 12, Arjuna will ask another question. How should I worship you now? How should I understand the car? Synthetic or analytic? Chapter 10 is analytic method. Chapter 11 is synthetic. So how should I worship you? Synthetic or analytic? And he asks us in the classic Vedantic question, with form or without form. because the analytical part seems to be more understandable. The synthetic part transcends the comprehension of the intellect. That's why in chapter 11, when Krishna shows the original Vishwarupa, Arjuna says, no, I didn't ask for this. Show me the gentler form. Show me the milder form. I asked for what I have seen in Telugu movies. I saw a lot of Vishwarupa Darshana I have seen in Telugu movies. I want that God, not the real form and all I don't want. So he comes back to the Chaturbhuja Vishnu. He comes back to the Chaturbhuja Vishnu form. Now Arjuna asks a question in chapter 12. What should I worship? With form or without form? Arjuna, it doesn't matter with form or without form. To me, with form and without form segregation all doesn't exist. Advesha, Sarvabhutana, Maitra, Karuna, Evacha, and all that he starts. If you are worshipping me, there are certain indicators. If you are worshipping me, if you are worshipping God, there are certain indicators. What are the indicators? 35 indicators he gives. What is described as 35 qualities of a bhakta. 35 indicators to understand whether you are a devotee or not. In that 35 qualities, when we go there, we'll discuss it. In that 35 qualities, he never talks about it as a lifestyle bhakti. He will never say, go to a temple. He will never say, do this puja. He will never say, do this ritual. Now, please understand, it's not against all this. He's not saying, don't do all this. Huh? Just because you are not doing all this, you will not have those 35 qualities. If you do that, if you live that lifestyle, it is very conducive to develop this bhakti. So when Krishna is saying, don't do all this, don't take it literally as though he's against all this. He's not against all this. But then doing that is not bhakti. Then what is it? Getting admission in the school, paying the fees, sitting in the classroom, all this is conducive. Actually, what should happen? The child should study, isn't it? Going into the school is conducive. Paying the fees is conducive. To make it conducive, once in a while, the school will take the children on an excursion also, isn't it? Now, all this is for what am I going to school for? This school takes very good excursion trips. Will you send the child for that purpose to school? Oh, why this school? Because this school has very good food. You will not send a person very good food, no. This temple, if I go, the Puliodara in the temple is very good, sir. It's like saying I'm sending the child to the school because they give very good food. They give this. Now, all these are conducive. So, all the lifestyle of bhakti that we are doing today, the Shravanam, Kirtanam, all that we are doing as a lifestyle bhakti should be leading to these 35 qualities. And these 35 qualities alone will bring you to me. So he concludes, how through action you can come to me, he describes. How through bhakti you can come to me, he describes. Having said all this, 13 and 15, he takes a different direction again. In 13 and 15, he takes a different direction. The different direction he takes in 13 and 15 is Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga. From then onwards, all the chapters will be called as Vibhaga, Vibhaga, Vibhaga. Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga. Guna Traya Vibhaga. Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga. Shraddha Traya Vibhaga. Vibhaga means analytical study. Vibhaga means analysis. So the analytical portion starts from 13 to 18. So what he does there? Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga. And then 15th chapter, Purushottama. Uttama Purusha, what he calls a Kshetrajna in chapter 13, is known as Uttama Purusha in chapter 15. Having started the analysis, he goes into what is known as the Vedantic psychological analysis. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Gunatraya Vibhaga. So the entire creation, the external and the internal, is divided into these three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, and then he goes into detailed elaboration of all that. Everybody's waiting. Who's waiting? Bhishma is waiting, Duryodhana is waiting, Yudhishthira is waiting, Bhima is waiting. For what? For the war to begin. Because drums have been, the signal has been given, all that is ready, and these two are still sitting and talking. So they're all. So Krishna started winding it up. And he starts winding it up. And how he winds it up? He starts winding it up. And he winds it up in a way, beautifully. Why? Because Arjuna again came back to the same question. 18th chapter, he keeps asking the same question. You are praising Tyaga and Sannyasa. What should I do? What should I do now? But all the Vibhaga is done, the pot and the potter and the Prakriti and Purusha, I don't know what all a person can talk. He has spoken. And then Arjuna asks the question, what should I do? Yata ishyasi tata kuru. Do as you, he said, do what you want. Nashto moha smritir labdha tat prasadan mayachyuta. O Achyuta, my delusion is gone and it's your prasad. And then Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Bharto Dhanurdharaha Tatra Sri Viriyo Bhuti Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Mama and solely he concludes. Ipada 10th chapter ko vandirukrom, isn't it? So when we are going to go to that 78th verse of chapter 18, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Bharto Dhanurdharaha. Yogeshwara Krishna and Dhanurdhara Partha combination is the benefit of this Vedantic knowledge. What was Arjuna in chapter 1? Gandivam stramsashay hastat. Gandiva slipping from my hand, and I'm using the Gandiva as a walking stick now. Yeah, that is Arjuna in chapter 1. The same Arjuna in chapter 1, where he is using the Gandiva as a walking stick, has become Dhanurdharaha. Dhanurdharaha means now he is ready to shoot. Yogeshwara Krishna Dhanurdhara Partha. Tatra, wherever this combination is, wherever this combination is, Sri Vijaya Bhuti happens. Wherever this combination is, Tatra Sri Vijayo Bhuti. Tatra, there, Sri, Vijaya, and Bhuti. Bhuti means the glories come. Vibhuti. Bhuta means glories, supreme glories. Sri is wealth. Vijaya means victory. So, victory, prosperity, all glories comes is the law. Dhruva Nitir. Nidhi means law. Dhruva Nitir Matir. It is of my firm conviction. The law is this. 18 chapters over. I think we can conclude the Gita class also. This is the. Having said all this, in chapter 10, now we are starting. What he spoke as Prakriti and Purusha, and how it is him everywhere. Krishna starts by himself in chapter 10. In some chapters, Arjuna will ask a question. In some chapters, Krishna will start by himself. Here, Krishna starts by himself. I will tell you again. I will tell you again. நான் திருப்பி சொல்ல போறேன்றார். திருப்பி சொல்ல போறேன்னா என்ன அர்த்தம்? சொன்னதே திருப்பி திருப்பி. What he said, he said, I am going to say it again. I am Bhuyeva Mahabaho. I think that's how the chapter 10 is going to start. I am going to repeat it again. I am going to repeat it again. I am going to repeat it again. Why I have to repeat it again? Because as you are hearing, you are forgetting also. As you are hearing, you are forgetting. If at all you remember the words. Either you forget or you remember the words, and the words will go and sit in your memory, and the word sitting in the memory doesn't bring about a transformation in the personality. So in order to bring the transformation, that much of reinforcement has to be done. So what the Guru does, tirelessly they keep repeating the same thing again and again and again. There is the body, there is the mind, and there is the intellect. And when he starts only, we know what he's going to say for the next 1 hour, and we'll take a break, isn't it? There are these 3 states of consciousness: waking, dream, deep sleep. And you know exactly what he's going to say for the next 40 minutes. You can take a break. Why repeat it again and again and again? Repetition is manana. Repetition is manana. If the same thing is repeated again and again and again, it becomes a mantra, meditation. If the same concept is analyzed, that is manana. Understand the difference between manana and the contemplation, nididhyasana. If the same thing is repeated again and again, if the same sound is repeated again and again, that is mantra. That is meditation. If the same concept is analyzed again and again and again, that is called manana. So what the Shastra does, the Shastra, when Shastra repeats, when Vedanta repeats, they are not repeating it like a lullaby. It's not repetition like lullaby. Lullaby means, you understand, no? Same monotonous tone it has to be. Then only it is lullaby. You bring in drums, you bring in violin, you bring in the instruments, and you do all that. It's not lullaby. Lullaby means the same monotonous tone is said again and again and again. The monotony makes the child fall off to sleep. That's why in meditation class also people fall off to sleep. If you have gone, I know most of you have gone at least some point in time. Yeah, snoring sound and all you can hear, isn't it? You can hear it. We are not criticizing, we are not blaming, please. We are not mocking at it. If that reflection is not done, it becomes a lullaby. If the reflection is not done, it will appear like a lullaby, as in why are they repeating the same thing? Here we understand it is not lullaby, is not repeating the same thing, is only analyzing it from various angles again and again and again. Conclusions do not change. From various angles, he keeps coming back to the same conclusion. He keeps coming back to the same conclusion. This is the chapter 10, introducing chapter 10. Each and every, all those who read Bhagavad Gita will have some favorite chapters. Bal Gangadhar Tilak said, chapter 3, Bhagavad Gita Athava Karma Yoga, he said. Bhagavad Gita means Karma Yoga, that's all. According to him, Bhagavad Gita is Karma Yoga. They don't talk about anything. Because he didn't go beyond chapter 3 only. He didn't go, he said, not that he didn't read the 18 chapters, he is so impressed by the concept of Karma Yoga. Okay, Munshi and others say Bhagavad Gita means chapter 10 and chapter 11. That is Bhagavad Gita, because this is where who can understand this Prakriti, Purusha, Maya, and all this pot turning into that 3 times. Who wants all this explanation? See God everywhere. Somebody gets interested in chapter 15, Purushottama Yuga, Uttama Purusha. So elaborate commentaries goes on that chapter 15, Uttama Purusha. Another person go into an elaborate commentary on the word Kshetrajna. Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Oh, beautiful elaboration. It means something is there in Gita for everybody. Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. Something is there in Gita for everybody. So here, what are we going to discuss in chapter 10 and chapter 11? How everything in the world is God. Chapter 11, also the same thing. How everything in the world is God. Chapter 11, how put everything together into one. Again, he goes through sequentially. What he does in chapter 10 is, he takes the good part of the world and he will say, this is me, this is me, this is me. He will never go to the other side of the world. In chapter 11, he takes that also. Again, you should know the difference. When we see there are about 75 parts, he is going to say, this is me, this is me, this is me. We'll do all that listing and all we'll do. When you go into the verses, we'll do the listing. How every component part of the jiva, he says, this is me. How every component part of the world, he says, this is all that he says. But what he does in chapter 10, he takes only the good portions. In chapter 11, he puts everything together. What is the good portion and what is everything together? Consider the example of the dream. Each and every part of the dream is the mind. There is the temple in the dream, which is one ray of the mind. There is sewage in the dream, which is also another ray of the same mind. So mind being one, it splits itself into very many parts. And when it splits itself into very many parts, looks like it has opposite properties. Looks like it has opposite properties. What is opposite property? The temple being divine and the sewage being dirt, both comes from the same mind. Again, the divine temple also comes from the same mind. The dirt sewage also comes from the same mind. Upon waking up, you realize both never existed only. Even when they were existing, were they real? Even when you see the snake, that's why this Karana and all, we have to understand these two examples. The clay and the pot, golden ornament is one set of example. Another example is rope and the snake. Clay and pot, rope and snake is enough to understand Vedanta. That's all. Two simple examples they gave, and Vedanta is very, very good. The rope and the snake. In the rope and the snake, we have seen it again. Even when the snake is existing, was there a snake? No, even when you are seeing the snake, even when you are experiencing the snake, there's no snake. Or as long as you see it, it exists. This is the definition of the world. What is the world? That which exists as long as you see it, The moment you stop seeing it, it ceases to exist. This is Maya. This is world. What is the age of the snake? Big Bang, 4.5 billion years ago it started, and then that Big Bang went into some other bang. What is the age of the snake? The age of the birth of the snake is when you started seeing it, it came. What is the death of the snake? The moment you stop seeing it. So when you start seeing it, it is the birth. When you stop seeing it, is the death. But this birth and death is not a real happening. This birth and death itself is a phenomenon. Phenomenon means which appears to exist, but actually is not there. What is the phenomena here? The phenomena here, it appears to have happened. So even when the snake was existing, was there a snake? You cannot say there is a snake, because the snake never came out, because a rope can never create the snake. God can never create the world. That's why he keeps alternating. From one angle, he keeps saying gold and the ornaments, the clay and the pot. From another angle, he keeps saying rope and snake. Now here we are not going to discuss rope and snake. From the angle of rope and snake, we are not going to discuss. We are going to discuss it from the angle of gold and ornaments, clay and the pot. It is the clay that gets converted into the pot. It is the clay that is appearing as pot. Correct? I'm saying it rightly, no? It is the clay that appears as the pot. The destruction of the pot is not destruction of the clay. So the pot is the nama rupa of the clay. The birth of nama rupa doesn't affect the clay. The death of nama rupa again doesn't affect the clay. Same thing, gold, ornaments, lamp, all similar examples they give. So for understanding purposes, we just stick to one, the clay and the pot, and rope and the snake. Here, what are we discussing? We are not going to discuss from the angle of rope and snake a lot. We are going to discuss it from the angle of clay and the pot. Even when we talk about it as clay and the pot, we are not talking about a creation that's separate. What is the separate creation? The intelligent cause and the instrumental cause are separate. Material cause is Namarupa. Are you able to follow? Shailesh. The Namarupa is the Namarupa is the material cause. So the world came out of God as in pot coming out of clay. So when pot comes out of clay, each and every grain in the pot is nothing but clay. That is Vibhuti Yoga. Each and every grain in the pot is me, is me, is me, is me, is what is going to say. Why he has to repeat it so many times? Because we have the tendency to forget. The mind has the tendency to forget. Forget the meaningful and holding on to the meaningless is the mind. What is the nature of them? That's why we need knowledge. Why we need knowledge is because if the mind can naturally hold on to the meaningful, then what is the point of teaching? There is no teaching is not required. Why teaching is required? Because the mind will let go of the mind will always let go of the meaningful and it will hold on to that which is meaningless. What is the meaningful and what is the meaningless is the teaching. What is it that you call as meaningful and what is it that you call as meaningless is the teaching. When you look at the pot, you understand the clay. You don't call it as clay, you call it as pot. When you look at the Nama Rupa, you don't miss the original. This is knowledge. You look at the Nama Rupa, and when you look at the Nama Rupa, you don't miss the original. Ignorance is getting carried away by the Nama Rupa and missing the original. Getting carried away by the various Nama Rupa of the pot and forgetting the clay, missing the clay. Okay, what is the need to remember the clay? What is the need to remember the clay? The remembrance of the clay gives you a clarity on the pot. Remember, the knowledge of the clay, the remembrance of the clay gives you a clarity on the pot. If you don't remember the clay, the pot appears to have its own independent existence, and the independent existence of the pot starts affecting you, disturbing you. This is good, this is bad, this is not right, this is wrong. All fluctuations happens because of what? The Nama Rupa is seen as an independent entity and the original is missed. Vibhuti Yoga and Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga is for what? What all you see as Nama Rupa, that's me. Nama Rupa, name and form. Name and form is there for transactional purposes, but doesn't have any inherent reality to it. For a specific, for transactional purposes, it exists. What is the transactional purposes for the pot to come into existence? Imagine that society, they saw the water source and they were living far away from the water source. How to carry water to their place? Nowadays, we don't even understand this difficulty because it's so easily there. You just go, open the tap, isn't it? Hot water is coming, cold water is coming, I don't know, different temperatures of water is coming, and the different types of flow also is coming. I don't know what all is happening. What is the purpose of the pot? They couldn't carry water in the hand because they were living, they're not fishes to live in the water, no. So they were carrying water. They were carrying water in the hand. It didn't work. You can't carry water in the leaf. It won't work. So what they did, so the pot has a transactional utility, but doesn't have any inherent reality. It has a transactional utility. It is there for some transactional purposes. You can, but to call it as real and getting affected by it is ajnanam, ignorance. So what are we discussing here? When you forget the real, the Nama Rupa becomes real. And both realities cannot coexist. Rope and snake cannot coexist. I have understood, sir. 80% of it is rope. Only 20% is remaining. And that 20% also I will get rid of it in six months. Or will you say that? Even if you are seeing the tail of the snake, what is existing? The snake only. Maybe you are imagining it's a rope, it's a rope, it's a rope. But what are you actually seeing? The snake only. So when you look at the two realities cannot coexist. In fact, there are no two realities. There is only one reality. And that one reality, because of Prakriti, because of Maya, because of whatever it is appearing as this Nama Rupa. Mamayonir Mahad Brahma, he said. It's all from, it is me that has become all this. If you go and ask why it happened, if you go and ask him why it happened, the answer that he will give is,
You tell me where the water is. I will have.
yeah. So, where did we leave? From where we left, no? I'm trying to remember where we left.
End of the day.
Nama Rupa, the rope snake example. Correct. In Nama Rupa, at any point of time, When you focus on the reality, you will not be getting carried away by the Nama Rupa. Why to remember the original when you are transacting with the Nama Rupa is the question. Again, why to remember the Nama Rupa while you are transacting with the world is the question. What is the answer? If you do not remember that, if you miss the original, you will be affected by the Nama Rupa. You follow? Affected by Nama Rupa is what? Affected by Nama Rupa means what we call as the mental disturbances. What we call as the mental disturbances is nothing is worry and anxiety. So missing the original will result in getting carried away by that. You will start believing Nama Rupa has an independent reality. You will start believing as though Nama Rupa has an independent reality. Nama Rupa means that has a guna, that has a specific guna, that has a specific property, that is Nama Rupa. Each and everything has a specific guna, has a specific property, each and everything has something specific in it. The question that what we are discussing here is, in that Nama Rupa, when you start giving it, when you miss the original, you start giving it a reality. And in that reality, you miss. What do you miss? You miss the original. Missing the original is getting into the cycle. Missing the original is getting into the cycle. What is the cycle? The cycle of again birth, again death. The cycle of again birth, again death. The cycle of again birth, again death is what is being missed. Therefore, what are we actually discussing here now? Each and everything in the world is me. Do not have any specific association with Nama Rupa. This is the intended meaning. Why is he saying so much about it is because do not have any specific association with any specific Nama Rupa. This specific association is what is called Ajnanam Bandham, bondage. You have a specific association with one Nama Rupa. What does a specific association means? Raga Dvesha. Raga Dvesha is the specific associations you have. Raga means attachment to one. Dvesha means hating one. So you have a specific association with one Nama Rupa in the form of Raga, and you have a specific association with another Nama Rupa in the form of Dvesha. So when you miss the original, you will become a victim of Raga Dvesha. That's how it works. And what does Raga Dvesha means? A specific association you develop. Specific association means I like this, I don't like this. Specific association means I'm interested in this, I am not interested in this. This gives me joy, this gives me sorrow. This is involvement. This alone can give me joy. This always will give me sorrow. This is Raga and Dvesha, correct? What is Raga Dvesha? A few are capable of giving me joy all the time. A few gives only sorrow all the time. Profit, success, all can give me joy all the time. Disease, loss gives me sorrow all the time. So we have a list. What is the list? Some has the capability of giving me joy all the time. Some has the capability of giving me sorrow all the time. This misunderstanding is because of specific attachment to a specific Namarupa. So what is he saying in Vibhuti Yoga? What all you are getting attached to, you are not getting attached to that, it is me. So you are no more affected by the Namarupa. You are no more disturbed by that Namarupa. If not, what happens? You will be affected by that Namarupa. And what is the nature of Namarupa? The nature of Namarupa is that which can give you joy at one point of time will give sorrow at another point of time. The same body that gives you joy at one point of time is the same body that gives you sorrow at another point of time. You are ready to hold on to the body at one point of time, and you are ready to do anything to get rid of the body at another point of time. So the specific Namarupa, because of ignorance, you think some can give you joy and some can give you sorrow, but the Namarupa nature is joy and sorrow. It will, if you have experienced joy, remember this. This is why Vibhuti Yoga is very important. If you have experienced joy out of something, that same something will have to give you sorrow, and you have to experience sorrow also out of it. If you have experienced joy out of wealth, you have to experience sorrow also out of wealth. How do you say that? When you are not having wealth, wealth appears to be joyful. Having gotten wealth, people regret and say, why did I have so much? I think I made a mistake of having. What is the nature of Namarupa? The nature of the nature of Namarupa is such that if you have experienced one, you have to necessarily experience the opposite also, because it is having both. Since it has both, you have to necessarily experience both. And when you are experiencing one, you pray that the other should not happen. When you are experiencing joy, you want the joy to be there for forever, and the joy should not diminish at all, and sorrow should not come. Sukam pogave kudadu, dukkam varave kudadu. That's all it, isn't it? That's all. What is the human being trying for? Sukha should not leave, dukkha should not come. And what is the nature of Namarupa, whether we like it or not? Sukha dukkha. Adyantavanta kaunteya. They have a beginning and the end. Matrar sparshastha kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkadaha agamapayino nityaha tam titikshasva bharata. So how do you interact with Namarupa? Practice. When joy comes, practice titiksha. When sorrow comes, practice titiksha. Why? Because when you are experiencing one, you are preparing yourself to experience the opposite. That's why the wise one is detached from both. That's why the wise one, sannyasi, is one who is detached from both. Why? Because when you are experiencing joy, you will end up experiencing sorrow, pain. Because that's how the Namarupa, the pendulum function of the mind, isn't it? We have seen it any number of times. What is the pendulum function of the mind? Your indulgences is the preparation for the next round of abstinence. The abstinence is the preparation for the next round of indulgence. When I'm eating, I overeat. The very overeating prepares me for fasting. That very fasting is the preparation for another round of overeating, isn't it? This is how the mind goes. Pendulum. When the pendulum is moving to the right, it is not only moving to the right, it is gathering enough momentum to come to the left. When it is coming to the left, it is not moving only to the left. It is gathering enough momentum to go to the right. This happens when you are involved in Nama Rupa. So when you are involved in Nama Rupa, what happens is, one, you will experience, and when you are experiencing one, you have to necessarily experience the other. The question is, does a human being has freedom from this? Does a human being has freedom from experiencing the opposites? Bondage is experiencing the opposites is bondage. What is freedom? Freedom from experiencing the opposites. Now, if you want freedom from experiencing the opposite, there is the method. What is the method? Use the pot for transaction, but don't give any reality to the pot. See the see the clay. Relate to the pot, but don't give any reality to the pot. When you start relating to the pot, you start giving reality to the pot. The very giving reality is the problem. Are you able to follow? Therefore, the most important thing to realize, the most important thing to understand in this Vibhuti Yoga and this Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga is, when one is experienced, you will necessarily experience the other. The wealth that gave joy at one point of time is the wealth that is the cause for the destruction of the family now. The wealth gave joy to the family. The Kauravas and the Pandavas, Bhishma struggled so much to bring wealth to the Kaurava clan. And the very wealth that Bhishma brought to the Kaurava clan, what he has to experience before he dies? The very Kaurava clan getting destroyed and destructed because of that. It means when you are experiencing one, you have to experience the opposite. It's inevitable. It is inevitable. You cannot, nobody can escape. Or we may think somehow we can escape. Or we may think that we can bring in so many, or we can think that we can bring in so many methods by which we can only experience Sukham and we can avoid Dukkham. No. When you are experiencing joy, you have to experience the sorrow. The person loving you today is the person loving you today will need not love you. I'm not saying will not, please understand. The person loving today need not love you tomorrow. That's all. The moment you understand that, when the other person is loving, you are grateful to the love. When the other person stops loving, you don't get upset, you don't get angry, you don't get affected. Why? Because you have understood. If you experience one, you will experience the other. Experiencing the opposites is called bondage. Freedom means freedom from opposite experiences. Freedom means freedom from experiencing the opposites. That's why if I go to Vaikuntha, I will experience only one. No. If I go to Shivaloka, I will experience only one. No. And then the fight will start, isn't it? Which place is the right place, Vaikuntha or Shivaloka? Somebody will come and say there is no Vaikuntha, there is no Shivaloka, it is something else. The very loka means field of experience. Experience means that has a beginning and end. The nama rupa, the loka, the experiences always has a beginning and end. Wherever you see a form, whenever you see a form, you have to understand at one point of time it wasn't there, at another point of time it is not going to be there. Again, I repeat, wherever you encounter a form, what you should realize, it wasn't there at one point of time, it will not be there at another point in time. Mind has a hope. Mind has a hope. What is the hope? Somehow the impermanent can be made permanent. Somehow of the two experience of sukha and dukkha, somehow I can avoid somehow I can eliminate the dukkha component and keep the sukham component. Using your intelligence, you can postpone the dukkha component. Whether you are going to experience today or you are going to experience 3 months later, that's all. The only human intelligence is nothing but postponing the dukkha, but it cannot eliminate it. At least postponing is better, no sir. What is your problem? Yeah. Stomach burning, isn't it? At least we are postponing. No, what is your problem? Why is your stomach is burning? Isn't it? Only more you postpone, bigger is the pain. More height you reach, when you fall, the greater will be the fall. That's why we say be balanced. That's why we say be balanced. Because the height you go, it's not only the height, because you are going to experience the opposite. When you are going to experience opposite, you are going to fall. And when you fall, the pain is going to be more. Therefore, Vibhuti Yoga says, in every Nama Rupa, understand it's only me. In all Nama Rupa, see only. In all Nama Rupa, see only me. In all Nama Rupa, understand only me. In the seeing me and understanding me, you achieve freedom. What is the freedom? The moksha, the liberation. Liberation from not dukkha. Liberation from sukham and dukkham. The misunderstanding is, I need a liberation from dukkham and be stuck in sukham. Vedanta comes and Krishna comes and says, if you want to sukham, at least be wise enough to accept dukkham. Again, I repeat. See, if you want to sukham, at least be wise enough to accept dukkham. Don't say, I do not want dukkham, I want sukham. No object is capable of giving you sukham. No object is capable of giving you dukkham permanently, but they are able to, they can give you something temporarily. Temporarily they can give you sukham, temporarily they can give you dukkham. Anything temporary is appearance. This is the conclusion. Anything appearing is, all appearances are temporary. Out of ignorance, the impermanent is seen as permanent. Are you able to follow? Out of ignorance, the impermanent is seen as permanent. So, in Vibhuti Yoga, what is he trying to say? While you are transacting with the impermanent world, don't forget me, the permanent. While you are interacting with the impermanent world, don't forget me, the permanent. It means you need to understand how I am there in each and everything. One thing is to say God is everywhere, but the statement doesn't make any. That statement God is everywhere doesn't help at all. Therefore, what he does, he splits each and everything from the world. He takes and he's going to say, it's me, it's me, it's me. Why can't he simply say God is everywhere and leave it? It doesn't help. And why he breaks it up everything into me, because some nama rupa always disturbs you. Some nama rupa always agitates you. What is joyful at one period of time becomes painful at another period of time. What is joyful to you at a given point of time is extremely painful to another at the same given point of time. Are you able to understand? Again, I repeat. What is joyful to you at one point of time becomes painful at another point in time. What is joyful to you at a given point of time is extremely painful to another at the same given point of time. It means what? The world exists with its own nama rupa. The sukha and dukkha is what you make out of it. It exists. It exists as a nama rupa. The sukha and dukkha is what you make out of it. When we say you make out of it, means because of your relationship with it gives you sukham and dukkham. Distinct from sukham and dukkham is ananda, the bliss. Again, distinct from the sukha and dukkha is ananda, the bliss. That's why we have find all the saints add the name Ananda. Why do they add the name Ananda? Because they are saying we have transcended sukha and dukkha. Viveka plus Ananda becomes Vivekananda, isn't it? Chinmaya plus Ananda becomes Chinmayana. Why do they add the title Ananda to their name? To say that symbolically that they have transcended sukham and dukkham. In order to transcend sukham and dukkham, learn to see the reality. If you are experiencing one, you necessarily have to experience the other. When you are experiencing sukham, you cannot escape experiencing dukkham. It's a law. If only we take the time and reflect on our own experiences of life, you will understand how true it is. The same thing that gave you joy at one point of time is the same thing that gives pain at another point of time. And nothing is capable of keeping you permanently in sorrow or permanently in pain. Why? Because the very nature of it being agama payinaha, they come and go. What they give also come and go. Finite cannot give you infinite. This is jnana. Any additions of finite, the answer will never become infinite. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 8 finally equals, will not, you cannot say infinite, because finite doesn't have the capability to give you the infinite. And you cannot rest content till you get that infinite. Why? Because your original nature is being infinite. You cannot rest content till you hit that infinite. If your original nature is finite, you will be contented by now. A very finite itself can give you contentment if the original nature is finite. Since the original nature is infinite, you cannot be contented with anything finite. Why are people greedy? Ramtirtha, a person asked a question. Why are people greedy? Because they are infinite, he said. Because they are infinite. Why are people greedy? Because they are infinite. Infinite means what? You cannot, you want more and more and more, and you will never know finally how much you want. You ask this question to yourself. Don't ask anybody. Ask this to yourself. You want and want. Okay, finally, how much you want? Or if you get how much, you will say enough. Like he asks, no, when is enough? Enough. That when is enough, there comes a point. And what is that point? Your true nature, the infinite nature is the point. So when you get to that infinite state, what is that infinite state? The infinite, your true nature, you say that nothing limited, because limitation is ajnanam, ignorance. With this we conclude. Ignorance doesn't have an existence. Ignorance has an appearance. Reality alone exists. Ignorance has no existence. Ignorance has appearance. That's Maya. That's why it's called Maya Mithya. Because ignorance doesn't have an existence. Ignorance has an appearance. And appearance of what? Appearance of making you to see that which isn't there. Avarna and Vikshepa. It clouds the real and projects something which isn't there. What is the nature of ignorance? The nature of ignorance is such that first it covers. It doesn't stop covering. After covering, it reveals something else. So now what does knowledge come and do? Knowledge doesn't come and create anything new now. Knowledge doesn't come and create anything new now. Knowledge simply reveals it. What is the revelation of knowledge? The revelation of knowledge, which is what we are aspiring for, is Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham Brahma Asmi, the Mahavakya. Aham Brahma Asmi. Aham Brahma Asmi is present continuous. Meaning you are always Brahman. You are Brahman. You will continue to remain Brahman. So, what is the difference between the knowledge and ignorance? Ignorance will say, I have become Brahman. The moment you say, I have become Brahman, it's like saying, snake became rope. Are you able to understand? Raj. Yeah, you follow. When you say, I have become Brahman, it's like the snake saying, I became the rope. How can snake say I became the rope? It cannot. Therefore, Aham Brahma Asmi is the knowledge. What is the knowledge? Aham Brahma Asmi. Asmi means even when I didn't know I was Brahman only. Before knowing I am Brahman, after knowing I am Brahman. So there is no change in Brahman. What is the change? Knowing or not knowing. So Brahman remains the same. Knowing brings the difference. That knowing is called Veda Anta. Knowing that it comes to an end. That's why it's called Vedanta. The end of knowing. Meaning what? Knowing this is the ultimate. Knowing that snake never existed is knowledge. Snake, purified snake is rope. Can you say that? Snake did karma bhakti jnana yoga, purified itself and it became the rope. Srikanth, அப்படி சொல்ல முடியுமா? Yeah, அப்படி சொல்லுவோம். How can you say purified snake is rope? Knowledge says there's no snake. Purity, impurity, la imagination. Purity, impurity, la your imagination. Therefore, Vibhuti Yoga is a very beautiful preparation for that. When we go into the verses, we will from next week we'll go into the verses. To understand about God, you have to understand this. Seeing God as an external entity is unacceptable. Seeing God as something superior to you is not acceptable. Seeing God externally is also not acceptable. Seeing God as something superior to is also not acceptable. Then what is acceptable? God. There is only God. Any question anybody asks, you should say God. So much of corruption in the world. What you should say? Badri. Politicians, sir, isn't it? Political. So much of corruption in the world. God. So many good things are also happening in the world. God. The good is God. The bad is God. All that is happening is God. This is Vibhuti Yoga. With this, we conclude for today. From next week onwards, we'll go into the verses. Verse afterwards, we'll. Do you have anything today, Venkat?
Yeah, Mala has posted few clarification.
Yes, there is one question. What influences the time period of the experience of joy and sorrow? What determines the frequency and duration of such an experience of opposite? Mala is asking, what influences the time period of the experience of joy and sorrow? 10 years, if I am happy, what made me happy for 10 years? If I am suffering for 30 years, that's what you are asking, no? What influences the time period? What determines the frequency and duration of an experience of opposite? The intensity of raga dvesha. It is the intensity of the raga dvesha. Second, refusing to gain the knowledge. The intensity of the raga dvesha and refusing to gain knowledge determines the frequency and duration. Two factors. One is the raga dvesha. Another is refusing to gain this knowledge, because the raga dvesha intensity can be more, but as soon as you start gaining this knowledge, swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. How many times he has repeated in the same Gita, previous chapters? Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. What will happen to me, Krishna? Nothing will happen to you. Durgati cannot come to the one who's doing this kalyana krit. Doer of good. What are you talking about? From in another verse, he said, Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahatobhaya. Little bit of this you practice protects you from great fears. What does little bit of this in both the cases implies? Kalyana krit means knowledge. So, what determines the frequency and duration of an experience of opposite? The frequency and duration is determined by the intensity of the raga dvesha plus how much you are gaining this knowledge. It's a combination of these two. Is it okay, Malla?
There is one more posted by her earlier.
No, where is it? Wait, what is that? I'm not having it, Venkat. General question. Dharma Shastra says if you do not follow this, you'll get Naraka. You said the Swarga and Naraka are different states of your mind while living in this world. Because there is no physical place called Swarga and Naraka. At the same time, following Shastras help us to reach Brahman, the Moksha. But the words of Shastra appear threatening to ordinary people like me. Very good, Mala, you should get threatened. The whole purpose is to threaten you, no? Then only you are all right. Until we reach moksha, whether we like it or not, whether we understand it or not, is it wise to follow it blindly with the hope that we will understand one day? Mala, do that. Do that. Three regulators brings in discipline, Mala. The first regulator is bhayam. When human beings live a childish life, the first regulator is bhayam. That's why the laws are kept so strictly, because of the fear of punishment only people obey the law. Where there is no fear, where there is no strict enforcement of law, do you find people objective and loving and caring? They simply lead a very indulgent, very wrong life. Therefore, the first question, it is threatening to ordinary people like you. Abada, the purpose is achieved. Purpose is achieved. What is the purpose? Threaten. Three regulators. Bhayam is the first regulator. Shraddha is the second regulator. Jnanam is the third one. Remember, it goes in stages. So straight away, people cannot come to Jnanam and all. Even though we want people to come there, how do we take them? How do we take them step by step? We cannot tell them directly jump and land. It cannot work. Therefore, what do? The first step is bhayam. Discipline. The human beings are indisciplined by nature. Okay. The whole attempt is how to bring in some discipline. And the only way to bring in some discipline is you say law, follow this. And if you say follow this, mind will say no, isn't it? You say do this, immediately mind will say no, isn't it? Ranjini always asks this to me. Anything she says, first reply she gets from the daughter is no. Straight away, even no thinking, straight to no. That's all. Her problem is why can't they obey? Why can't they simply say yes? How can they say yes? They cannot say yes. Nobody can say yes. Mind cannot say. The mind cannot say yes. So, but then they have to be helped. How to help them? By bringing in first regulator is bhayam. Over a period of time, that bhayam becomes very frustrating. So what do? They should not take away the discipline, but frustration should go away. Shraddha takes care of that. So regulator number 1 is bhayam. Regulator number 2 is Shraddha. Regulator number 3 is Jnanam. Shraddhavan labate Jnanam. That's why he said the person of Shraddha alone gains knowledge. And Shraddha means a conviction in obeying the law. Shraddha means a conviction in obeying the law and not getting frustrated by that obedience. You obey the law and you are not frustrated and irritated by that. Otherwise, we obey the law and we look at others around us. We look at others around us, isn't it? You travel in the train, both sides of the railway track is full of dirt. No, India, I'm saying. Yeah, dirt. Okay, you take the cup and put it in the bin. Immediately the mind will say what? Just because I'm putting it in the bin, does that mean the whole country is going to be dirt-free? Vedanta says you will be dirt-free, that's all. Don't forget about the world being dirt-free and all. You will be free of dirt. That is Shraddha. So, Mala, to answer your question, It should threaten. And the purpose is to threaten. Why? Because human being needs. Bhayam is the regulator. And please understand this, sir. Bhayam is not a wrong factor at all. Verse number 30, chapter 18, Sattvic intellect, Sattvic buddhi. Number mattum paathukonga konjam. Yeah, one number this side, that side it will be. Verse number 30, chapter 18, where he talks about Sattvic intellect. Bhayam cha bhayameva cha. Sattvic intellect knows what to fear and what not to fear. Beautiful definition. He doesn't say it is fearless. Beautiful definition he gives. He's not saying it is fearless. He says Sattvic buddhi distinct. It knows what to fear and what not to fear. It means in certain things in life you have to fear. Shastra teaches you that. And when they say, why are they threatening me? They are not threatening you. They are saying, in this lies your welfare. That is knowledge. At one level, it looks like Shraddha. At one level, it is fear. At another level, it is Shraddha. At another level, knowledge. What? The law is for the protection. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. You protect the law protects you. You obey the law protects you. You violate the law and ask for protection, forgiveness. Law says by paying the price. You follow? Therefore, Dharma Shastra, the law of life says it will threaten you. And how to threaten you? By giving too many. See, by giving in certain graphic description of the pain. That's why you find textbooks like Garuda Purana and all talking about it as so many times I have given you that story, no? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's example. Sipping tea in Naraka. You remember that example story? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's example? Well, I don't want to repeat it again, isn't it? Because you can't have breakfast after that. And I have to have my breakfast now. So, a person went into Naraka. Yama said, see, for all the wrong things that you have done, you are destined to be in Naraka. But you have done one good act also. For that one good act that you have done, I'll give you the choice. Choose what you want. So he was taken a Naraka tour, a campus tour he was taken. Taken the campus tour in Naraka and said, this is this. And everything he saw, he didn't want that. He said, no. Finally, there was one darkest corner. Yama said, no, leave it, let us not go there. He said, no, I want to see that. He went there. He saw 8-9 of them standing and sipping tea. He thought, what a wonderful punishment it is, standing in the pit and sipping tea. He said, I want this. Yama said, please don't take this because this is for special category of people. Again, who are the special category of people? Vedanta class vandu kuda Vedanta padikala nakka irukra category idella. Yeah, and the category kinne irukra punishment idu. So why do you Narayanji? Why do you even want to get into that? Special people don't come in here. No, I want this. Yama said, okay, peep in. He peeped into the pit, up to knee high, filled with dirt, pus. Every day it will be fresh stock will come. Every day fresh stock will come. And this man thought, still it is better. No. Better than getting flogged, better than getting poked, better than making yourself into a bhaji bonda and then bringing it out. He thought it is much better than all that. No, still it okay, he said. He said, okay, get in. 1,000 years. Okay. He jumped in. As soon as he jumped in, the ringmaster came. The ringmaster came. All of you stand upside down. What is the punishment? Upside down, you have to stand for 24 hours and you will get a 2-minute tea break. That 2-minute tea break that this fellow thought is what? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's example, this is. And some of Ramakrishna's examples are extraordinary. Only he can come up with this thing. It is like sipping tea in Naraka. That's all. What is the sipping tea in Naraka? He gives a, because we are all very sensitive people. I'm not talking the way he's talked about it. But actually, his method works a lot. His method works a lot because the way that he explained it, bhayam, discipline. So, how to make the human being disciplined is the challenge of the well-wishers of us. Whoever is a well-wisher of us, what are they intending? How to bring in some discipline. For that, the first method is, bhayam is the first regulator. Don't talk about fearlessness. Sattvic intellect says what to fear and what not to fear. Bhayam cha bhayameva cha. Bhayam and abhayam. It knows what to fear and it knows what not to fear. From fear to Shraddha. Shraddha to Jnana. Is it okay, Mala? The question answer, acha? Yeah. Last question. Ram Subramaniam. Verse number 26, chapter 9. If there is time today, I would like to put forth my question when I get to unmute. Unmute Ram Subramaniam next week. We have no time for today. Simply, it would say, I have a question, isn't it? If there is time today, I would like to put forth my question when I get to unmute. Adhike or Ramayana, isn't it? Ram Subramaniam. For this Ramayana, you will get a chance only next week. எனக்கு பசிக்கிறது ராம் சுப்ரமணியம் வேற ஒன்றும் இல்லை. I am so hungry, that's all. I can't say I am hungry, no. I have to insult you and go out. So next week we'll take up Ram Subramanian's question, then we'll move on to the text. We'll continue next week.